Anthony Hartwig with you, and this is the Hot Corner. This is my personal softball-based blog on YSN. I've done a couple of them already. I just wanted to come on and kind of share what this blog's going to look like in the future, what it looks like going forward. It's all softball all the time. So it's for you softball heads that love discussing the game, love discussing the players and the coaches and everything that goes along with it. We're going to be a lot of local softball. Travel softball is finally back. There's a tournament in Warren. I'm going to be there this weekend, the Thunder Elite Perfect Storm tournament in Warren. And later this weekend, I'll have a recap of all that action. It's going to be a fun time. I'm excited to get back to a softball field, as I'm sure all of you guys are today. But as we also go forward, we're also going to be talking to some people from the premier softball world and the elite softball world, and we're going to get them on, and we're going to have some fun with them too and get their thoughts on things. And we're going to try to merge the premier softball world with the local softball world, and it's going to be a fun time. Stay tuned for more Hot Corners. And today's special guest is Demi Turner. Demi Turner played at the University of Alabama collegiately and is now the volunteer assistant coach at University of Houston. And the reason I had Demi Turner on is because, man, she has gone through a lot of adversity throughout her college career. She's gone through multiple injuries, and she fought through it every time with a great attitude. And it's one of those things where we need this kind of story right now where we're going through it as a society. We're going through this COVID-19 pandemic. We need the stories of people that have gone through adversity and come out the other side. And that's why I got Demi on today, and she's going to be our special guest on Hot Corner. And it's also a nice segue because I'm going to be starting a blog here pretty soon called Hartwig's Heroes. It's all going to be about local athletes that have gone through adversity, gone through it, and came out the other side and really triumphed over their adversity. So here's what I'm asking you guys as the fans. If you know of any athletes that kind of fit that mold, that can have a story of dealing with adversity and going through it, let me know. Reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, both @hartwig01. And let me know, tell me their story, and I'd love to tell it because that's what we're all about here. We're about telling the stories of these local kids. So that being said, with no further ado, here is my interview with special guest on the Hot Corner today, Demi Turner. Anthony Hartwig here as Hot Corner with YSN. It's a new blog. You know, we've had some fun the last couple of weeks, and today we're joined by a special guest, Demi Turner. Demi, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me today, Anthony. I look forward to talking to y'all.
Yeah, we're usually covering high school sports, but we've kind of branched out, and I've been given the opportunity to make this softball blog, and I'm going to make the most of it and try to get as many awesome players on as I can. And
I'm glad you picked me. Hopefully, I won't let you down.
No, I don't think you could ever let me down. Let's start, since we're due high school. Let's start with your high school career and some of the fond memories you have of playing on your high school program.
Yeah, high school, definitely, obviously high school is a little bit different than college softball, like I'm not saying it's slow pace, but it is a little bit slower pace. And once you step on, a D1 softball field. But probably some of my fondest memories was just making a playoff with some of my best friends that I grew up with, just having them, great teammates and great friends along the side with me. We didn't make it to state, but we always went, pretty deep in playoffs. But, other than that, it was high school. That was so long ago. It's so kind of hard for me to remember those days,
Right.
You always miss the bus rides, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The old-fashioned bus rides. Yeah, that's good. What was your recruitment process like going through the early ages of high school, and what made you kind of settle on Alabama?
Oh, I wouldn't call it a settlement,
Settle down.
But no, I played for Texas Impact Gold under Casey Jackson and Jazz Jackson. And so when I wasn't playing high school ball the whole summer and fall, I was playing with my travel ball team, which I just named Texas Impact Gold. And I first started in 16 and under. I was 12 years old. My sister was older than me, so I played up with her. And during that time, we were at a tournament in Colorado, and like I said, I was only 12 years old, and there was a bunch of college coaches at our game as it was, and they were like, "Who's that kid at shortstop?" And they were like, "That girl's only 12 years old," and kind of the following kind of started there. Once I got moved up, so let me reverse a little bit. So before I went to play on Impact, I was playing on Hitaway, and that's when I moved up to an 18U. I played 1 year there, and then I went over to KC's team. Well, I actually committed to Texas first when I was in 8th grade. After I visited pretty much all the schools, just through travel ball, that's where they saw me. I either sent them emails, like told them our schedule, and that's where, at the end of the day, that's where all the college coaches were kind of seeing me. I mean, they asked me to come on visits. OU, LSU, Bama, Texas A&M, Baylor. They all asked me to come on visits or whatever, so I went and visited them all. Alabama was actually my last choice. Well, as an 8th grader, you don't really know what you want at that age, And so I ended up committing to Texas, and as I got older, I started to see, well, I mean, I don't know, like maybe it's okay for me to like get away from home, like I was scared at that age to like go so far away. I mean, like I said, I was only in 8th grade. And so at that point in time, it was hard for me to do it, but I decommitted from Texas and recommitted to Alabama and end of my freshman or sophomore year. And from that point on, I mean, Allie, Murph, Steph, all of them, just continue to watch me grow until I stepped foot on campus in fall of 14.
What was that first kind of experience with Alabama like when you kind of graduated high school and you first step on the campus and it sinks in that you're playing softball at Alabama?
I mean, well, the first thing that caught me was like, oh my God, this is literally my family away from family. Like every single person on the team, whether it was staff, players, facility people, like they all make you feel right at home. And like a kid being 9 hours away from home, like you need that love and that support. Well, it was already here, so it was nice to have that. But like at the end of the day, when you're like, oh my God, I'm at Alabama, it's like, all right, I got to represent the A that's on my chest. Like I got to live up to the standard that and the bar that's already been set. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely it. It was definitely exciting moments along the way, nerve wracking too. But at the end of it, you don't really think too much into it, I mean, you're just literally enjoying your time with like all these amazing people that were at Alabama.
Now we got you on here to kind of talk about all the adversity that you kind of had to go through when you went to Alabama, and we're going to be starting a new blog here in a little bit. This highlighting athletes that had to go through adversity. You went through a couple of major injuries. Talk about your first one, the elbow injury at LSU in your sophomore season, and you were out for about 8 weeks. You didn't get a live at bat until the tournament curtain round. So what was it
Right.
like going through that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of related to this time, it was like an unprecedented time for myself, like I've never had a traumatic injury from the game of softball. Like it was a pretty big ordeal, like I was shocked at how bad it was. But at the end of the day, you know, suffering is a part of the process, and suffer comes from joy at the end of all of it, so you have to enjoy the suffering. But at the end of the day, I had great teammates, great coaching staff, an awesome athletic trainer and doctors that helped me out along the way, and sports psychologists as well that helped me through that adversity. And without God, like without knowing his plan, I mean, I still don't know the plan behind any of that, but that's where I kept my faith. And like anytime I felt down about it, I instilled more of myself into my teammates, because I think the biggest problem is sorry, somebody was stomping through the house, is getting ego out of the way. Like the moment you figure out, like, it's not all about you, the better off we're going to be, as a team, as a whole, as me mentally. So basically, like during that time, I just instilled everything I had and wanted to put out on the field into another teammate, into another player, because at the end of the day, we all have one goal in mind. whether I'm out on the field playing or in the dugout, you know, and it's just a different perspective anyways. But like during that recovery time, you know, I had to focus on like the small obstacles. You know what I'm saying? So whenever I overcame one little thing, I'm like, oh, that's a win. Like you got to celebrate that. You got to celebrate the small things. And that's what we did. And, you know, like you just got to laugh about it, you know? I mean, yeah, you might inclining and one day you might plateau a little bit, but at the end of the day, you have to look back, like, look how much I progressed already. All right, we're not even done yet. Even though I had one steady day, we're going to keep climbing until I'm fully back, you know? And so you just have to keep that in mind. Don't focus on the end so much, but put yourself in other people's shoes and your energy into other people as opposed to focusing all about yourself.
What was it like when you kind of finally got cleared after that first injury and you got to get back on the field and boom, it's the tournaments and you kind of get thrown into the fire?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Um, I would say I was a little nervous, but at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, like through all the support with like my teammates, the coaches, our doctors, our staff, it just helped me like realize that I didn't have to focus on the negative. Like my muscle memory knew what I could do already. Okay, so I put in all this work beforehand, not saying that you don't need to, but for example, every single day, our psychologist, that his name's Brett McCabe, if you don't know him, he would basically make me watch myself, whether I was slapping, bunting, or hitting through this like screen, but it was my phone and like magnify it. That's all I could see, and it would replay like my best at bat that I would clip out. And your mind doesn't know if your body's actually doing it or not. You know what I'm saying? So I just visualized every single day on these videos, and that's pretty much that helped me like keep my confidence along the way, though I like felt like I could get behind. But like once I stepped on the field, I was like, all right, this is my job now, and this is where my teammates trust me to come through. I'm not thinking about the injury, but like at the end of the day, if they trust me, like I know I can get the job done. But I had to trust myself first. And like that's what I did with Brett to make sure I kept that same confidence along the way.
You worked all the way back, and then unfortunately in the next season, I think the injury that everyone kind of knows you for,
My
the concussion
my
and
face injury.
yeah. Um, what do you remember the moments leading up to that?
Yeah, I actually do. Me and Sydney Booker were actually there was a ball hit up the middle, probably more on the second base side, but you know, me and her, I mean, we're just the type of player that we don't want the ball to go through the infield, and I wasn't going to let that happen. Well, there was a runner at first, going to second, and then obviously the girl hitting the ball from Missouri was running to first. Well, right when Sydney fielded that ball, I was probably maybe 3 feet from her. And at that second, I was trying to go back to second, but all my momentum was going that way anyway. So I just got my shoulder like drop before I was going to drop step to second. And next thing I know, I was just laying on the ground. And like, I know from playing shortstop, whenever you're trying to get that lead out at first, you don't really see what's in front of you. I mean, anytime you turn to, you don't see that runner coming. All you're focused on is that out at first base. And I just wanted to make sure that, you know, Book was okay at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew I would be okay regardless of how my face looked, my eye, whatever, like the traumatic injury that happened with it. But I was more concerned about her well being than, you know, my own because, like, at the end of the day, like, that's what it came down to. You know, I was going to be fine. Like, I had faith that God was going to come through for me and I would be okay. You know, I didn't know why any of this stuff happened, but it did, you know, so I do remember all that. I mean, recovery on that one was a little bit different because there wasn't any rehab you could do, like for your face. Like that stuff just takes time, whether it's your face and your eye, because you know, I fractured my orbital bone that pretty much like my eyeball sits on. And so my eye, like once it was healing, once I could open my eye again, my concussion was gone. I was having visual problems, you know, seeing double, everything was blurry. Like, you know, I have 2015 vision, so it was like a big deal. I'm like kind of freaking out later on, you know, but it just kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Like, you have to find the little things to celebrate at the end of the day, you know. And then to get your mind off yourself, because your mind can definitely take you down and control you, especially like through like some trial and tribulations. You have to just look at every single positive, whether it's your teammates, your coaches, your family, um, or the little obstacles that you are overcoming. You know what I'm saying? So like just celebrate those.
You talked about your teammate Sydney's kind of mental state, what were some of the first conversations that you had with her to try to make sure that she wasn't too hard on herself? Because I can't imagine what she went through, because she was the one that kind of threw the ball.
Yeah, I just remember I had a message from, who did I have a message to? I don't know. Or no, maybe I just told Kate to go make sure that Sydney's okay. Well, when Sydney first saw me, she was like crying, and I was like, dude, like I'm fine, like we're fine, like hey, like I just try to like calm her down, make her feel good, and just kind of be myself because she was, she was taking it pretty hard. We didn't know like how my eye was going to heal. We didn't know when I was going to be back. Nobody really knew that. So like she kind of felt down about it, but I just kind of just stayed in her ear with like positivity and like me and Allie came up with a nickname for me, and she called me Dembski Doodle Dab. So like I would dab people up, meaning I would pick probably two players every game, and like I would instill like just positive energy in them every single game. And like whenever I got to come back out and like at least be in the dugout, she was one of the ones I was trying to pick up constantly, try to like just stay in her ear just to make she's like in a good place. Because like I said, at the end of the day, like we all have the same goal in mind, and I don't want her to be thinking about me when she's out at shortstop or like in the box. You know what I'm saying? Like shit in my career. And I was just trying to tell her that like we're fine, like this isn't your fault, but there's a plan behind it. I mean, I know it stinks it was you, but like I don't take hard feelings to that, like because everything in my opinion happens for a reason.
Like you said, that injury, it must have been a lot more mental to come back from than physical. What was the kind of mental things trying to come back from that? Were there any uh, essence of fear coming back and after you initially got cleared?
Um Kind of. Since it was an eye injury, I was like, am I gonna see? Is my eye gonna react to this ball the way it should? Like, I don't know that because I only had like a couple at bats off front toss before I went out and played that time. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I just try to tell myself positive things because I have a tendency, like everyone does, will spiral down if we keep these negative thoughts in our heads. So, like, I just had to control the controllables. I mean, though adversity is something that's really hard for, everyone to face, I think what helped me was the year before when I already had an injury. So like celebrating the little things that were already at hand. You know what I'm saying? Um, Besides that though, I mean, once we like figured out my eye was fine and like I just felt like I was ready to go. I went back to work, and nothing ever happened and I was fine. I wasn't gonna wear a face mask or anything like that. Like I felt at the end of the day I was fine and it was time. And we had the great doctors, I had a great athletic trainer that all agreed with it, so we went after it.
It's funny you bring up the face mask because I vividly remember Coach Murphy's press conference, and he talked about that. He asked you if you wanted to wear a face mask, and you just
Told him no.
no, no.
No.
But he also just talked about like how important your energy was to get back on the field. When you're that kind of when the energy is that important to the team, how much of an advantage is it to kind of get back on the field? And you came back again in the Minnesota regional, and you had a pretty good regional yourself.
Yeah, no, it's definitely important. Like I said, when I couldn't be out on the field though, I tried to put my energy and everything I had within me into other people. Like we always talked about like being a servant leader at Alabama and Mudita, like be happy for other people's success over your own. And but coming back to regionals that year, I mean, after sophomore year being out and then junior year being out as well, probably the same amount of period. I don't know. It's just weird timing. I understand. At the end of it, through that time in the dugout, it gives you a different perspective. You know what I'm saying? So I was the type of player, that I always wanted to play. Always, like I just had that, grit, like the fire that to just go out there and play to help my team win in another sense, as opposed to just in the dugout. Like I wanted to help in any way possible, and I felt like I could get it done against, anyone. But
Going through all that, how much did you treasure your senior season?
Not many people know about this either, but that season, before the season even got started, I actually ruptured my lateral ligament in my right foot. And then later on through season, I had a knee injury, and then I ended up on that same foot fracturing my fourth metatarsal. So through that whole season, I was actually playing injured because my last two seasons, in a sense, were kind of, I didn't get to play. Well, I was asked to redshirt every year, or medical redshirt every year after those injuries, and then my senior year too. And I was just like, no, like I want to play, like I want to do everything I can. Like it's my last year. My body's breaking down clearly, and I just want to do all I can now to help everyone here, because we all had the same goal in mind, like I said. And Murph and Allie and Steph, I mean, they've had this program for 25 years, and they instill more in us than being just a softball player. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just more about softball at the end of the day, but like it gives you this fire. Like, though I was injured my senior year, I just wanted to do everything in my power to help us win. It's kind of like a lift versus a drag. I mean, they created the best environment for us, where it was more of a lift as opposed to a drag. Whether you were going through, I don't know, tests that week, injuries, like whatever it was, they always upheld the standard, which helped us uphold the standards. You know what I'm saying? So just having that, I guess, a selfless mindset of like, you know what, like I can play, so like why not, you know? And like I just have like so much heart and passion for the game that like I was excited that I actually could, and I had a choice to play still. Like, yeah, the injury stunk, even my senior year, but like at the end of the day, like I could still will myself to get out there.
Do you think going through those injuries in sophomore and junior season made it easier to go through and play with injuries in your senior season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was in rehab still every single day. I mean, my whole career was basically in the training room at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? But like, it definitely helped, like mentally. It helped me from spiraling down. It didn't matter like how much something hurt, like playing the game and instilling everything I had and all my energy into my own teammates. I think that helped me along the way, like get through all of that, But
What about everyone in the softball community knows about Coach Murphy. I mean, he's one of the most
yeah.
respected coaches in softball. Give us some insight on Coach Murphy and maybe a couple things that people might not know about him.
I mean, he's just a great person and a great like obviously a great coach at the end of the day. But what people don't realize about Murph is kind of like the standard I talked about earlier. Like he's been at Alabama for 25 seasons now, him and Allie. So clearly they're doing something right, but it's a lot about the culture. Like for example, they instill just more in us than the game of softball. They prepared us for after that. I mean, we all had to earn our trust to earn a spot through the work that we put in. But I mean, Murph still calls us, still texts us. Like he doesn't he cares more of you as a person as opposed to a player, if that makes sense. Like they had the heart and the passion that pretty much trickled down to like all of us players. But like one thing I really loved about Murph is it kind of goes on basis with like preparing us for after college. And it's just he always brought positive speakers. Like he always was trying to like help us like mentally, whether it was reading an article about how to be a good teammate, or whether it was how to shake someone's hand, though we might not be able to do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like he cares about you more as a person than you as Demi Turner, the softball player with a million injuries. You know what I'm saying? Like he like genuine cares about people, and that's what I love. Like still to this day, he'll text me. He's like, "DT, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Murph, like I'm good." But like it's just like that. He's like another father figure to like everyone. But I get emotional because he's just that great of a coach and person.
What was your favorite Murph story over your 4 years at Alabama? You have a story you can share?
I don't know how we just got to messing with him one day, but pretty much he used to like when he got, I guess, nervous or something, like typically like he'll obviously people like bite their nails, but he used to like tug out his shirts and stuff, and he was not having it that day. But like one of my favorite memories probably will be is like from the locker room. Like anytime you walk around a corner, like Murph is like trying to scare you or something. I'm like, come on, Murph, just have practice. But it's just like stuff like that. I mean, thinking about it, um, I don't know. There's just so many, honestly.
Now, last season you were put on the wall at Road Stadium, and that's a great
Mhm.
honor. What did that feel like, seeing yourself on the wall?
I mean, it was awesome, especially to be up there with like some of the best teammates and some of the best players that ever came through Alabama. I mean, it was an honor, and the fact that Murph and Allie and Steph and them like basically like all came together and like chose me. I mean, it's like heartfelt, you know. I mean, like I said, it just makes you feel like it's not. I don't even know how to explain it. Like it was just like so touching, you know. Like, oh my God, did like I leave my mark here? Because like at the end of the day, like it kind of seems like that in a sense, regardless of like the injuries that I did battle, you know.
Let's bring this interview full circle because we started talking about your high school career. Obviously,
Yeah.
we cover a lot of high school sports. All these high school seniors that have seen their season completely end. Some of them don't get a chance to go play in college like you did. What advice would you give them as they're going through this hard time and kind of realizing that their softball career is all of a sudden over?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I would say like pivot and propel regardless of the circumstances. I mean, we can't help this happen, but at the end of the day, find a way to get better. You know, control the controllables at hand and take that and try to find a way to like turn all of this negativity that's been going on with the virus, you know, and like your career ending so early to, you know, something positive like, oh my God, I get to go to college now, or at least I get to spend more time with family right now, or vacation more when really I have to go be playing softball, you know, but like take a chance to look at it as you miss the game so much. So don't take it for granted when you get to go out back on the field.
No, I end every interview this way. I'm going to have some fun with you before we let you go. What has been
Okay.
your favorite quarantine in-home activity that you've kind of had as we're being stuck in the house for the last couple months?
Oh man. I actually learned how to sew. My mom taught me how to sew. I've also tried learning how to play the guitar, which I'm still trying to learn how to do that as well. Um, but that's pretty much what I do inside. Typically, I'm outside majority of the time,
Yes.
like 98% of the time until it's dark outside. So typically, I'm like riding four-wheelers to help my. I mean, we live on a lot of land, pretty much a little farm out there at my parents' house. So I've been at home with them quite a bit, just helping my parents out around there, whether it's feeding the cows or, you know, whatever it is, trimming trees, mowing, whatever, you know. So there's always something to do out there, which it entertains you for sure.
And I imagine you're still doing lessons and trying
Yep.
to.
Yep. I'm still doing lessons. I'm probably going to help coach this little 12U team here soon. So that'll be good too.
All right.
Um, that, like I said, it keeps you in softball, and you know I can give back to these kids in ways you know that we probably couldn't have before. You know, and at the end of the day, like I want to be that role model for you know these little kids. I want to help them live out their dreams like I got to. You know, so yeah,
All right, Demi, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time. It was great
no
to hear from you.
problem.
Great for this conversation. It was great. And we appreciate it.
No problem, Anthony. Thanks again for having me.